Femi. I'm the Director of College Access at Achieve Atlanta. Most of us, or many of you all know us for our scholarship, but I'm here to talk a little bit about our college access work that I lead with the district. But before we get into all of that, just kind of want to do a pulse check. And this was supposed to be animated, so I apologize that all these answers are up on the screen. But just curious, by a show of hands, how many people chose their college based upon just simple math? Like what they could afford, what their parents said, this is where you're gonna go. Okay, 1, 2, 3-ish, 2-ish, 2.5. Who followed friends, family, tradition? I definitely did. Yeah. Specific major or degree offered, did you chase that? Okay, what? I'm curious. What was the degree or the major that you were interested in?
And so I was actually telling her I transferred after my first year. I made the wrong choice.
Okay.
But initially I wanted to go into like sports ministry, so it was like religious based and faith based, and then decided I want something a little bit more broad. So yeah, yeah.
Well,
Mine was business and economics, and ended up switching majors after the first year. So.
all right. Megan's a little bit more interesting, but it's okay. And then who was, just chose their school based upon a sport? Either they played the sport or they were a fan of the team. Just one. Did you play a sport or were you on
I played a sport.
Oh, what did you play?
Bowling.
Oh, that's very interesting. And then who chose for another reason? Is anyone confident to share what their other reason was? Jasmine?
Mine was mid-stakes. I knew I wanted to go a little bit away to be away from family, but not too far away. I wanted to be where, if anything happened, they can get to me. So.
Yeah. And I hear sometimes, students say that or they say the opposite. Like, I want to go as far away as possible, right? So totally understand that. So like I said, my name is Femi Johnson. I'm the Director of College Access with Achieve Atlanta. I'm going to talk us through how we do match and fit in the college transition process, specifically in Atlanta public schools. I went to Spelman College, illustrious Spelman College, and my mom made the decision for me. I was at a track meet, my mom was like, you're going to Spelman, and luckily it worked out for me, but long story short, I didn't have a way of figuring out where I was going to apply to. I had no idea. I just kind of was like, oh, like Villanova sounds like a cool name, I'll sign up for that, or my friends are going here, so I'll apply there. But I had no way of really like thinking about it in a constructed and a productive way outside of the silliness that 18-year-olds think. So a little bit about Achieve Atlanta. Our vision is that Atlanta is a city where race and income no longer predict post-secondary success and upward mobility. We have a mission of helping APS, Atlanta Public School students, access, afford, and earn post-secondary credentials, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we execute on that mission. And our larger goal as an organization is to for our post-secondary graduation rate of our scholars, which are students that take our scholarship to an eligible institution, is higher than their non-scholar low-income peers. That's a mouthful. And we do this through 3 verticals. So the first vertical, which I'm the director of, is to help students access post-secondary. And so we partner with Atlanta Public Schools, College Advising Corps, and One Goal to support all juniors and seniors in their college match process. On our second vertical, which is Afford, where our scholarship lives, which everyone wants to talk about, we partner with Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta and Scholarship America to ensure that when students pick the choice of their school of their dreams, that they're able to actually afford it with as least amount of loans as possible. And then lastly, our last vertical is really about supporting students to not only get to the institution of their choice, but to succeed and persistent, right? We want students to not only enroll, but to actually graduate. And there we partner with 10 higher ed institutions in the state of Georgia. We're starting to partner with some more institutions in the state of Georgia, but to also support our students that attend colleges outside of the state. We also work with Beyond 12, EduTech, and One Goal here, as well as Raven, to provide some transition to career supports as well. So I think the main thing from this slide to take away is that Achieve Atlanta wants students to be able to access, afford, and succeed at attaining a post-secondary degree. Wanted to share this data with you all. We are super, super proud of this. And so just this past year, researchers from Georgia State, Wesleyan, and Brown looked at the persistence rates of our scholars, so again, students that are taking our scholarship versus those that are non-scholars. We found that our scholars persisted from fall to spring at a higher rate than their non-peers, and that those gains continued throughout all 4 years of college. So we're going to continue to track those students, but we are really, really proud of that. It was done, it's external evaluation, so we didn't cheat. We are super excited about this, and we're hoping to continue to support our students as they persist in college. So that was just like a little bit of context about Achieve Atlanta and just kind of like some framing, but I want to talk about how we kind of developed our match and fit and how we got there. Just want to say, I just really want to call out that our match and fit does not directly correlate to this. We have hopes that it will, support students in persisting from year to year and ultimately graduating, but we recognize that it's not a one-to-one correlation there. And so before we jump into match and fit, I have another kind of question for the audience. Has anyone heard of the concept of undermatching?
Yes.
Yes. Who said that?
Sorry.
Okay. All right, sorry, put you on the spot. So what do you know about undermatching or matching in terms of college choice?
Yeah, so it's a phenomenon where students get connected to institutions of higher education that they are overqualified for academically, and can often lead to like lower outcomes. They get bored, they waste money and time, the institution is not the right fit for them, and it really skews students who are first generation students, students of color, students from low-income backgrounds are kind of at higher risk of undermatching with institutions.
Absolutely. Yep, that's perfect.
There you go.
So match is really the concept that a student goes to an institution that fits both their academic profile so that they're on par with the students that are currently there, as well as the school meets their desires. Is it far away from school? Is it all girls? So we really want to make sure that we are supporting our students in matching and fitting with the right schools, and we want to avoid undermatching. And I'll talk a little bit about the dangers of undermatching. And so typically when a student undermatches or they go to a school that is, they tend to go to a school that's less competitive. Schools that are less competitive tend to have lower graduation rates. That obviously is going to affect students, right? And so even if you are like, the valedictorian, if you go to a school that's less competitive because maybe it was easy to get into or you're following your friends, you kind of risk the likelihood of decreasing the likelihood of you persisting to graduation. So I think, the biggest takeaway is that when students undermatch, they tend to go to schools with lower graduation rates. We, Achieve Atlanta, when we kind of started poking around and supporting APS students, we really started thinking about, okay, like we need to look at where APS graduates are going. Are they persisting? Like what's happening here? We were seeing enrollment go up, but we weren't seeing persistence going down. And so this is actually some old data. This is from about 2016, 2017. And those numbers on the side got kind of wonky. But this is really kind of what spurred our action into our match and fit work, our match and fit advising. And so as you see, prior to us working with the district, the bulk of students were either not going to college or were attending schools that were far undermatched to them, with only about 29% of students going to a matched college or an overmatched institution. And so this data was like alarming. We hated it, and so we decided that we wanted to do just a little bit something about it. So I'm going to talk about how we kind of got into the match and fit advising. It was a very long process. It took us years to get to the point where we are now. But we started with research and context, and so it was important for us to understand what people were currently doing in the field for match and fit, like what was APS doing, and it was also important for us to look at our peers. What are other people in the field doing? And so we did that with the help of, forgetting the institution's name, but we did that with a partner, and that was really important for us to just kind of like set the stage and kind of identify what is it that we're trying to solve against. I think we come up with like great ideas, but it's like, what exactly are you trying to do? And so that research and context building really helped us do that. Of course, when you're like doing anything new comes change management. And so like the research part of looking at the numbers and gathering stories, that can be somewhat easier than the change management portion, right? And so part of our change management, one of the big things that we need to do was work with the district, both school teams and district teams, to define what is match and fit. Match and fit is used a lot in the post-secondary world, but like what exactly, how are we going to use it, and how are we going to define it so that we're all on the same page? And then we also we knew that like, okay, we're gonna bring something new to the district, we're gonna need ambassadors that champion that. So we worked with people that worked in the schools to say like, hey, can you go back to your school and kind of be a champion around this topic and really get school teams, school leaders to understand that the goal isn't enrollment, it's persistence, right? Like a lot of school teams are like, I got them there, but that's not enough, right? We need them to persist. You know, as you said, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money if students just go and they don't have the supports to actually get it done. And then finally, part of our tool design, and I'll talk a little bit about our tool, is the most important thing about our tool is that it is research-based. We did several rounds with some more ambassadors and champions within the district, and also students to ensure that our match and fit tool was actually user-friendly and it actually did the things that they needed it to do to support them in advising students against match and fit. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. My animations are a little off there, but as we were doing our research, right, we said, okay, we see that match and fit and students undermatching is a chronic problem here. We were like, okay, so like where can we lean in? What's the best point for us to make the most impact? We found that we had the most leverage in the exploration and application process, right? Because once a student applies and accepts to a school, it's kind of hard to walk them back and say, oh, this isn't the right school for you. Instead, we have to get them in the beginning. So like when you're even researching schools, we want to be there. And when you decide which schools to apply to, because that costs money, right? We want to be there. We don't want you to waste your time. You know, you're applying hardware and you got like a 2.5. Let's talk about that, right? And we just found that we had the most leverage in those first initial stages of the application enrollment trajectory, college enrollment trajectory. All of that work, in about 2.5 years of work, with the help of the Gates Grant, the Achievement Atlanta built the Match and Fit List Builder. And so this is a tool that all APS students have access to, and it helps them to build a college list. I'm going to show a brief video that will talk about the tool much better, oh gosh, much better than I can. So also just want to share this slide. I'm not going to read from it, but I just want to highlight what the Match and Fit List Builder tool will not do. And the main thing of that is it does not replace robust conversations with adults. This is a tool that supports those conversations, and it kind of allows counselors to freeze up their time so that they're not, okay, I know this student wants to go here and this is their GPA, and they're doing all that matching and fitting. It just does that for them automatically. And so, you know, it also, the tool does not assist with applications, so students cannot apply to college through the tool, but it does allow students to, in a very, very calculated way, consider their data, what they want to do, and then where they should be going. And you know, the tool is great. Tools are great, but they're only one tool in the toolkit. And from using the Match and Fit List Builder tool, we found out that there were some other, just like additional supports that we need to provide Atlanta Public School staff with. So I think some of the lessons that we learned, not I think, but I know, some of the lessons that we learned is that, again, adults need more guidance on how to have effective conversations with students. So I was in school 15 years ago. Some of you were in school much longer than that. And I think that, you know, the world has changed so drastically that to talk about, oh, this is how I did it. Like when I went to college, I did it on paper. And I had to like print out multiple copies and make sure my handwriting was right and blue and black ink. That's like no longer the thing, right? And so we have to equip adults to have conversations with students that are like here and now. Not on what they've done, not what they know, but here's the actual reality. Another thing is that we found that students need more support understanding their financial aid offer letters. So we've done some financial aid offer letter readings with You Aspire, and this past year we did our first pilot offering for Achieve Atlanta Scholarship applicants with MoneyThink and their Decide Ed tool, which is a tool that allows them to go through their offer letters and kind of decide like, okay, which one is the best one for me? And then lastly, we needed staff to make sure that when they were doing like college tours or when they were bringing college reps into their buildings, that they were getting the right schools in front of the right students. So again, going to that match and fit and exposure, we want students to be exposed to everything. We want to make sure that we're exposing them in a structured way that makes sense. And like, you know, if you have an interest in veterinary, I shouldn't take you to a school that doesn't offer that.
You've got a few more minutes.
Okay, thank you. So here's a timeline of how we support juniors and seniors in APS. So in junior year, beginning of junior year, and really sophomore and freshman year, through U Science, students explore their career interest. We then ask students to create a balance list, and they attend college tours, and those balance lists really kind of dictate the college tours. On the back end, counselors are able to look at trends and say, okay, I have a lot of students that are interested in UGA, I need to go there. Or when I am trying to pull in a specific, you know, I have a college rep here and I have only 10 slots. Let me look at the match and fit list builder and see which kids would be great to be in front of this. Or which kids are on the bubble, which kids, you know, are kind of like, oh, they have the academic profile to be there, but they really don't know. So that is really important. We also ask students to rebalance their list. So the Match and Fit List Builder tool and our partnership in general, we have a data sharing agreement with the district, so we automatically pull in all of their academic information. After students take the SAT or the ACT, sometimes their list becomes unbalanced, right? And so we ask them to go back in, and now with these new academic credentials, what does your list look like? That list, again, is used at the beginning of senior year for students to go on more college tours using the back end of the tool. And then our CAC advisors and One Goal teachers support students in applying to college and financial aid. It's critical. And then we celebrate acceptances. So, you know, we do decision day, and it's a really big thing in our district, and so we really want students to have that pride and that joy of like a job well done. And then lastly, we support with enrollment through prevention of summer melt, and so we have a texting campaign, and actually this year it's through a chatbot with CAC, where we will help students to kind of avoid the common pitfalls that happens in the summer that, you know, prevent them from going where they said they were going to go. And then lastly, our support of students and their persistence doesn't end in high school. We also have a college success side of the house. Looking at Suzanne Diggs right there, Vice President of that department, Diggs Wilborn. And we also support students in persistence. So on each campus, we have campus ambassadors who are actually Achieve Atlanta Scholarship recipients who work with students to just build a community of belonging and just like the fun side. You know, you kind of have like an older brother or sister there on campus that you can ask questions. They've been through a similar process, and so that's a great support. We also have official scholarship persistence support through our post-secondary and nonprofit partners, and so these are coaches that students receive in-state and out-of-state if they would like, to just help them with everything, navigating financial aid, how do you pick your classes, so somewhat of an additional advisor if you must. We also provide professional development opportunities during and after college. So we've been working with the Chamber of Greater Atlanta to do mock interviews for students. We've been doing LinkedIn profile development, and so that's really been fun to see their profiles like blow up. It's crazy. And then also we have been, we just started kind of really dipping our toe into basic needs assistance, because we understand that, you know, a student that's focused on survival cannot focus on graduating from college. And so we really want to support students just in those basic needs. Almost done here, but here are some key lessons that we've learned in our Match and Fit journey. So one is identifying the problem. I think that's critical. Again, you know, having a tool is great, having programming is great, but actually understanding what you're trying to solve for is critical. And, you know, beginning with the end in mind is my suggestion. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So that speaks for itself. You need to work with partners. There's so many people in the field that are doing great work. It's great to connect with them. There's no silver bullet. I know I'm preaching to the choir here in education. There is no one thing that's gonna fix everything, you know? So just be comfortable with that. And just know that there's so many things in tandem that will work together to solve these big issues that we're trying to tackle. And then lastly, you know, if you're thinking about college persistence and graduation, it really begins in high school. And it begins with the college applications and the college choice. So that's our big lessons, and that's it.
Thank you.
Woo.